fortunate enough to have really great mentors, and I think that's one of the things that's really important about murals and the legacy of murals continuing. But I wanted to let people know, it's not, murals aren't a new thing, they've been around for roughly 30,000 years from the Lascaux paintings in France and Altamira in Spain. And so thinking about humanity and how we view our cultures is so intertwined with art. And so I think that is one of the major things that's really important with our community. I can share this PowerPoint with Neena, and then if anybody wants to take a look at it, it's got just a bunch of pictures and a bunch of images of different cave paintings, some of the earliest ones, and then I kind of jump a little bit forward into Egypt and the Valley of the Kings, and specifically the murals and the mosaics that were in that time. And specifically to that because it's a major influence on my work, even though it's I don't have that agency to reference that imagery, but I think just the symbolism and the beautiful craftsmanship of their work has meant really a lot to me and other cultures as well. And there's a lot of different murals that are attached to that are really important, and then the coinciding of Greek culture with Egyptian culture too. They were a lot of the Greek culture was learning from the Egyptians back in the day, and so they were taking and traveling and back and forth, intertwining their cultures together, and how they influenced, and later Greece influenced Italy and Rome specifically. But there's a lot of really great mosaics and murals that are attached to that as well that I will share, that I can share again with Neena. A lot of these are based in conquest, and I guess that's one of the major things that I kind of want to talk about with our culture and our contemporary society with murals is you got to remember that this culture, this land is an imaginary land, right? Like it's an imaginary border, it's an imaginary preface of this nationalism. And I think we all get stuck on this idea of nationalism, and I think that really separates us all as humans and cultures because there is no real nations. There's imaginary boundary lines that keep us apart from each other and keep us from understanding each other. And I think that's one of the things that for me is really important, is trying to break down that xenophobia, that fear of the outsider. We all and that's I think one of the things that continuously happens to us in our culture here in the United States. But I was definitely really influenced by Mayan culture, and the murals in the Mayan, Guatemala, South America, Central to South America are really important parts of my culture, and how I view that connection to our contemporary society and what we're doing as artists, and how we're connecting those raíces, or those roots, to who we are as a people. This is really not good enough without the images, right? But thinking about these things and how they connect to contemporary society, you got to think about how these murals have always been a part of our lives growing up, whether subconscious or consciously, and how they continue to penetrate our minds through the way we connect with people, right? Murals are a way of connection and a way of sharing our culture, sharing our time, our humanity. Bobby, who's no longer here, brought up a good point. I think a lot of times recent culture, there's a lot of art for art's sake, which is fine. I think it's really important to have art to express yourself, to get that therapy from it. But I also come from a legacy of knowing my roots. I'm a first generation American-born citizen, so really early in my life, my dad taught me about the Mexican Revolution, taught me about the heroes that he had, and my dad, for all his faults, definitely instilled that into me in a very, and it makes me very proud to know where my lineage comes from, where my people come from, and the fighting spirit that we have, not only against tyranny, but capitalism, against xenophobia, nationalism, all these higher institutions of thought that really subject us to holding on to who we are and keep us from really expressing ourselves as who we are. And some of my earliest indigenous roots, and the roots that led to the connection was through Posada and his printmaking. I'm a printmaker by trade and an artist in general, but Posada influenced Diego Rivera. Rivera influenced the next generation and of Chicano muralists, and leading up all the way up into the contemporary society, Carlota and Carlos Fresquez and Emmanuel Martinez and all these leaders in our culture, in our society, and specifically in Colorado, that I think we need to like continue to honor and continue to like give praises to, because it's so important to hold on to that history and that sense of who we are. And if we lose that, we really lose who we are as a people. And so I think it's really important for everybody to really hold on to your history as much as you can, and really just connect with people, ask them the questions. You know, I think that's equally important for our white brethren. You know, like I think like our the white folks that are in this country that maybe their ancestors subjugated us, but at the same time, their current kids, the people that are living their lives, I think for the most part are trying to do better. But I'm being definitely optimistic in that sense, because I think that last election definitely shows how racist this country still is, you know, and how much that there still is a lot of work to be done, and that people that are easily tricked by Fox News and by slogans of like "get out of our country" when we've always been here. You know, it's one of the things that we were talking about. We've been back and forth on this imaginary border for over a millennia, you know. And so you do the math, who came first, you know, and that's another thing that I really try to get my students to understand too, is like, we're all just people, you know. Nobody can trace their roots all the way, going back all the way to the caveman era, and like say my lineage has been consistently this. We're all trying to do the best we can, so I think it's a matter of like connecting those ideas of history, culture, and where we are now, and holding on to those and as roots of who we are, but then continuing to push forward into the next generation. Again, this PowerPoint is nothing without the images. Like that's really where all this stuff really kind of shines. But I'm more than willing to share this with Neena, and she can pass it on to anybody who's willing to like take a look at it. If you have the time. It took me a while, but it's worth taking a look at. If you don't know the history of murals, it's really important. And I just touch on a few areas of expertise that I understand and that I've learned. You're more than welcome to add it to yours and add more images too if you want to. I'll leave it open in that way. But I just want to thank everybody for the remaining people who are still here listening. Thank you guys for listening, and I appreciate your time and your energy. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.